Welcome to episode number 49 for the National Land Realty podcast, where we discuss all things land. Our goal here is to inform, educate, and entertain those of you who own land or are interested in the buying and selling of land throughout the United States. My name is Mac Christian, and I am the Chief Marketing Officer here at National Land Realty. I'll be your host for this episode. Experience counts when it comes to land management. Land improvements take time, and it takes a lot of knowledge to know what will work and what won't over the years to come. Today, we're talking with Jimmy Riley, hunting club manager for Giles Island for 27 years and now an agent with National Land Realty. For those of you who are not familiar with what Giles Island is, it is the premier hunting destination of Mississippi and one of the top pieces of hunting land in the United States. Our friend Jimmy is responsible for what the island is today. He's here to tell the story of developing Giles Island and to share his knowledge gained over 27 years of land management experience. Now sit back and enjoy.
Okay.
All right. Cool. So I am sitting here with Jimmy Riley, and if it's a name that you recognize, you are savvy to the hunting world. If it is a name you don't recognize, you should pay attention. Jimmy has a wealth of information just to fill people in here, Jimmy ran Giles Island, and Giles Island is a hunting mecca in the United States, known for large bucks and Jim Bowie knife fights, right? So managed large bucks. This is a world famous, nationally famous in the hunting community property, known for giant animals, great management, and in a little bit of history. I mentioned the Jim Bowie thing there, but Jimmy, tell me a little bit about just your we're going to talk about your 27 years of experience, but tell me how you got involved with Giles Island in the first place. And now you're working with land real estate, but just talk a little bit about your background, how you got in there.
Yeah. So in 1996, I had left a job, a 9-year career in the poultry industry. I was managing a chicken plant where we harvested. We actually killed and cut up 132,000 chickens every day. And I didn't like that too much. My passion has always been, outdoors, hunting, fishing, farming. And that's what I did all the way through high school and college, for a job, is working on a farm. It's a farm hand, and I love that work. And of course, naturally, since I was a kid, it was all about the deer and the turkeys, and the fish. So I heard that Giles Island had taken a new owner back in 1996. And I had been to Giles Island one time in high school on a fishing trip, and we just tore the bass and white perch up. And, I saw the place and I thought it was just spectacular. And I always heard stories about Giles Island having tremendous amount of deer, just herds of deer. They ran them with dogs and horses, during the gun season back in the day. That's what we did, And so it was always a big talk about how many deer were on Giles Island. And you didn't hear so much about big deer on Giles Island. You just heard about a lot of deer. So I just sent the owner just a cold letter and a resume. And 2 weeks goes by, I don't hear anything. So I called him and asked if he got it. And he said, yeah, come on up here and let's have an interview. So I did, and it went well. And 3 days later, I was on Giles Island as the caretaker, living like a hermit. It was just one owner, and he brought in his friends and family and a few business associates, and we weren't selling hunts or anything. And so there we were. I was living like a hermit on the island by myself, 9,400 acres, and loving every minute of it. Of course, there's a lot of work to do on that kind of property, but and there was a lot of things that I wanted to change and make better over there. And the owners, just went right along with me on everything. So after a year, he asked me to come up with a plan to cover the expenses on the island, because, a big piece of property, has a lot of expenses, and the upkeep and the maintenance of everything, the road structure. And when you have that kind of property, you got a lot of food plots, and that's expensive. Everything's expensive. So I came up with a plan and I didn't know what I was doing now. I mean, I was just, I didn't even take a typing course, but here I was on a word processor sending out letters to people asking them to come hunting on Giles Island. So we devised the business model to sell 3-day deer hunting packages on Giles Island, and it went real good from the start. We almost booked the first season up. The first season we ran, it was 1999, and boy, it was a ride from then on. It never stopped. I mean, the people just kept coming, and we talk about the deer a little bit. So I said there was always known to have a lot of deer, but I knew the potential had to be there to have, giant deer, because they would kill a good one every now and then. But I said, if we can kill one, we can kill a lot of them. So we came up with a management buck program, and we tweaked it a little bit throughout the years, and that'll be a whole nother conversation. But we brought that up to just world-class whitetails. I'm talking, 170, 180. The biggest deer we'd taken over there was 248. So anyway, it was a long run. It was a nice long run on Giles Island. For 27 years I was there.
So from the point that you got there, you mentioned that the owner that you started working with right out of the gate was mostly friends and family coming in. Looking at the photos now, like this is a premier luxury property. It looks like I was describing it to somebody the other day. Like, this is the kind of place where, like, you go in there and someone like rubs your feet before you go out to the hunts. Someone else is assisting you aim the rifle. Someone else is rubbing your shoulders while you take the shot. Like, it looks, granted, it's not that, right? But it looks that nice. And so when you came on board, was it like that?
Yes, kind of, sort of. Okay. The owners had high expectations, but all right, to correct you a little bit, we didn't rub feet and we didn't rub shoulders, but we did aim the gun a whole lot of times. I'm telling you, we had clients, guests over there that from all aspects of the hunting world. We had professional hunters coming in. We had novice people that didn't even, we would ask them, have you got that rifle sighted in? Oh, yeah, I just got it the other day, and they said they had it bore sighted in just perfect from the shop. And I'm like, oh my God, bore sighted? You might be able to hit a 55-gallon drum, but that's, so anyway, we would cater to.
Congratulations, to shoot straight.
Yeah. So we saw it all, and you're right. It was we actually combined the luxury with the weekend hunting experience, the weekend warrior. It was a good old boy type hunt. It was a family oriented operation. So the quality of the lodging facilities over there, when I came over there, I remembered back when I went fishing that time in 1982, there was like 35 little redneck Cajun little camps all on that campsite ridge. And it was hodgepodge, because nobody owned anything. They were leasing it. So they wasn't putting a lot of money into these things. And it was just a shelter to get out of the rain, basically. They weren't snake proof. They weren't rat proof. I mean, it was bad. Well, when I went over there in 96, I saw he had cleaned a lot of that up, and he kept the nicer buildings that were there and remodeled them and got them livable. So when we started the business in 99, we had about 4 buildings that were old. They weren't very nice at all, but they were nice enough. You and me, we would love to have that kind of hunting camp right now, but not for the clientele that we were wanting to have, that were willing to spend the money, to come over there and enjoy the property, all aspects of it. And so we built in 2003, we built a big, fine lodge. It was called the Antlers Lodge. And it served the purpose of common area where we all gathered to meet before the hunts. That's where we lounged around, watched the football games, and that's where we had our meals and dining room and everything, and had a game room. And also, it's still there. And in 2007, we put in another big lodge called the Treetops, and that was the lodging facility. So we did away with all of that old substandard type lodging and made it really 5-star accommodations as well as 5-star hunting.
So when people would come in to hunt, would they primarily stay in the lodge, or did you go out set up, satellite camps with people where they would get to like do the real outdoor, like camp in the woods thing?
No.
How did you manage that?
We never did that.
You never did that?
No. It was neat and clean, and air conditioned and heated all the way. And now to go to Giles Island is a very unique experience, because the first thing you do, you land at Old River, and we got about 5 lots over there where everybody parked, and then we got on a boat to go across Old River, and then we got in the trucks, and in 5 minutes we were there. Now we had a working access to drive around on the backside, come off the levee the backside, but it would take you 45 minutes to get there. And if it's raining, it's a little muddy coming in that way, so it's just so easy for us to go by boat. And man, the guests really loved it, because once they got on that boat, they turned that cell phone off and they left the world for 3 days. That is such a great experience. And but we're only 20 minutes away from town, so it was nice to have that too, to be able to go get our supplies and everything for the hunt.
So when you came on board here, you've got no experience. And after a year, you get told to put a business plan together what's your idea? How long of a process was what you went through to take it from, we'll call it how that place would be advertised today, when it was like back in 1999, we'll call it rustic. It was rustic at the time. And how do you take it from that point to, you said in 2003, you built the first lodge. Was it at a high standard by 2003? You jump on board in 99, and by 2003, you have this place whipped into shape?
Yeah. So it's all about the deer, right? When you're talking about hunting property, in most cases, probably 95% of property owners, it's all about the deer. So that was my greatest focus. And the owner brought in the class of accommodations that he wanted to have, which allowed us to charge more. It costs more to obtain it, maintain it and all, but it allowed us to bring in the revenue that he wanted to bring in. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about getting started there. So he said, come up with a business plan. So I'm like, I just got to be honest with you. I heard about Terra Wildlife is up there by Vicksburg. And I kind of looked at what they were doing, and I called Gilbert Rose over there and talked to him about it. He said, no, I'll help you out, buddy. The competition's good. So we talked back and forth, and, that's what I love about the hunting world. We're all in this thing together, right? So that's kind of how I formulated the business model. And back in those days, there weren't very many outfitters across America. And the only thing you had to do back then to market your hunting operation was to go, there was about 3 or 4 or 5 magazines, hunting magazines. You had Sports Afield, you had Outdoor Life, you had Peterson's Bow Hunting, there was a very few of them. So what I did was ran an ad in the back of you turn to the last page in those magazines. Now I'm telling my age now. And they had a classified section, okay, in the back of these magazines, and it was a little 1-inch by 2-inch ad, and that's all you had to do was put your name and number there. And that first year, man, the phone rang off the hook, and I started that business. I had a bag phone. A lot of people listening to us right now don't even know what a bag phone is. There was no cellular phones back in the day. That was as close to a cellular phone as you could get. And it was a bag, and I had a 4-wheel drive Suburban, and it sat right in the middle and plugged into a cigarette lighter.
Yep.
And I had a checkbook, and I had a booking calendar. That's how I started the business. And I'd hop off the tractor and go check the phone and call people back, And anyway, that's all we had to do. And then that first year, Mossy Oak came to me and said, how would you like us to come over there and do a couple of hunts and run on the Hunting the Country TV show? I said, I would love that. So they came over that first year. We made a couple of kills on TV. It ran. The phone really rang off the hook when those TV shows, because there weren't very many hunting shows out there. It was, I think you only had, we had the Buckmasters, and you had Mossy Oaks Hunting the Country, and you had Primos. That's about it. If you wanted to watch a hunting show, that was the 3 shows you had to watch.
And you had to watch it on PBS or something like that. It was usually on some like obscure channel that you had to find it.
Yeah. And, they bounced around different networks in those days. I think they started out on TNN Outdoors.
Right. And I was going to say there was USA ran a few, TNN did, and you'd see some obscure stuff on ESPN. And that was like
ESPN. They made a run at it one time. So anyway, yeah, just very fortunate. And from then on, we had hunting shows every year, and by other people outside of Mossy Oak. But Mossy Oak was our mainstay. And actually, I can't remember the year now, but they asked me they were going to start a new show they had the Turkey Thugs show going, and they were starting a new one called Deer Thugs. And they asked me to kind of co-host that thing. It was 5 of us outfitters that they picked across America to co-host the show. And it ran for about 5 years, and allowed us, we got to go hunting in different places across America. And I really enjoyed that because, as an outfitter, as a guide, you don't get to hunt. Okay. And then let me tell you what, there is a distinctive difference between being a hunter and being a guide. It's not the same. Both of them are fun, and I enjoy the guiding. But it's a totally different ball game when you've got the weapon in your hand. So during those 5 years, I was really loving it because I got to hunt about 5 or 6 times a year in different places across America. And I love seeing the different parts of the hunting world, and I learned a lot, about the Midwest, even up in South Dakota, and across the Southeast United States and Texas. I mean, they're totally different experience when you go to those hunting places.
I was going to say too, you mentioned the fella that helped you out locally, and this total graybeard statement, right? Like growing up in a time, because I was I think 99. I just graduated from high school and was hitting college, and we had the internet. But it wasn't like what you see now as the internet. It was like dial up, and like there was like a hamster on a wheel somewhere, and you were just praying the page was going to open in the next 5 minutes. And if you did, it was all text, and nobody had even started advertising. So it's not like you, Jimmy, are going to log in and find out about deer management. Like you're just not. Like you're probably going out there like trying to find anybody you can with an opinion, like, what do I do? Or making it up as you go, or coming up with your own kind of plan, or just whatever you can read about. Like, and then if you have to read it, you got to go find it at the library. You got to find a magazine with the right article and hope they publish something in that amount of time. Like, it's not like the information is readily available.
Well, that's where the hunting shows come into play. You could obtain a bunch of knowledge just by watching so-called professional hunters out there, which they're really no better than most of us out there that go hunting. But just because they're on TV, some people think they are. So anyway, let me tell you a little funny story. So there I was about 2 or 3 years in, somewhere around 2001, 2002. And I'm up at Lake St. John with my family during the 4th of July weekend. And my cousin's out there, Lance, and we're on the end of the pier. And I'm telling him about, the business we got going. It's going good, man. We got a little bit of slack in the bow season. I want to fill that bow season up a little more. I need more hunters in the bow section. And he said, man, you need to get on the internet. And I looked at him sideways and I'm like, what is the internet? Yeah. I had no idea. I mean, I was living, when I tell you I spent 24/7 on that island over there, I mean, that was my life. I mean, there was nothing else in my life but that right there. I mean, there's 2 seasons. There's hunting season and getting ready for hunting season. So I'm like, what is the internet? So I had to dig into that and learn what that was, but we still didn't have the tools to use it. I mean, we had no internet access over there on the island to use it, even if I wanted to use it. So just went a lot of years just winging it, man, the best I could. And I'm just going to tell you, those TV shows was where it was at. It just cut my job in half. But when social media came on board, I did get on it relatively quick. I knew I had to stay up. Unfortunately, we have to stay up with all the technology that's out there if you're going to succeed in business these days. It's just the way it is. And it's hard on us old guys that didn't even take a typing class, back in the day. We're still pecking with one finger on the computer, so, but, where there's a will, there's a way. And the beauty is that we had the deer, we had a plan, we had a vision with the deer management, the buck management, and we were fortunate that it worked out, so.
I want to ask you about the deer density and how you maintain that. Is one of the advantages that you have in this is, as people look for deer habitat, recreational properties, those kind of things, one of the most important things that you have is what your neighbor's deer management plan is. If your neighbors don't manage for deer and you do, and you're on an island there in the middle of a landscape, and you're not exactly going to bear fruit. It's going to be more difficult. If everybody around you is on the same deer management plan, you can really get some things done and you can really get some traffic going through there. And if everybody kind of works together, that becomes a big deal. You're on an island. You don't have to sweat it. You have, but I mean, I'm guessing, knowing the deer swim and stuff, I'm guessing you had some migration between, land and island, but did you have to worry less than say you normally would?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you partially. Yes, we had an advantage. Okay, we had an advantage. Being on that island is kind of like a fence. It's like a part-time fence, but there's a certain percentage of those deer that come and go across the water. They cross Old River and they cross the main Mississippi River. I still cannot fathom why a deer would jump into that Mississippi River and swim across it. It's a mile wide and the current in that thing when they don't have to. Now, sometimes the floods come and they have to leave, but some of them do it when they don't even have to. But it is a little bit of an advantage. But you are so correct when you say your success in your buck management program is going to be partially determined by your neighbors. And I can tell you, I even experienced that on Giles Island. We had 15 square miles. Okay. So we could really manage some deer. Okay. Everybody would love to have that opportunity. I'm just very fortunate to have lived it, but our neighbors to the north, Rifle Point Hunting Club, when I first came, was owned by International Paper Company. And they divided, it was about 7,500 acres, and they divided that thing in half, and they had Rifle Point North and Rifle Point South Hunting Club. And their buck management program was a 6-point or better. They had to have 6 points or better, and then progressive, the second buck you shot had to be better than him. So that's not much of a program at all, okay? And I'm trying to remember the year. It was somewhere around maybe 2003 when one of my buddies bought that place. And I went to high school. He's a little bit older than me, but we went to the same high school. And he bought the whole place. And he knew what we were doing. And he wanted to, do exactly what we were doing because he was seeing our success. Within 2 years, business picked up for us, even though we were doing so good. Well, we shared about 30% of our deer with him over there.
Right. You got them swimming back and forth and doing that thing. And if you get somebody else managing their deer as well.
Well, right there, they didn't have to swim far. The chute was only about 75 yards wide right there where they had to go across. I mean, that's nothing. So they just tiptoed across there regular. And before our deer, when they went across over there, they got shot. And when Paul Main took over Rock Point, he put the quietus on all that, and he said, we're gonna shoot old deer. And we started killing more big deer, okay, as a result. And he was too, and he still is today. It's all just rocking and rolling, just like I left it. So yes, you are exactly correct. it's a little bit disheartening when, say you got 2 or 3 or 500 acres and you want to raise, your deer to be all they could be. And they cross that line and you hear the shot. He walks off of your food plot 5 minutes later, you know which direction he went, and then you hear the shot. And, that hurts. But it is what it is. You just do the best you can. But if you can, get your neighbors to go along and y'all get on some kind of program together, everybody's going to benefit.
Right. Because you get a larger population, you get a larger population and larger animals because they get a chance to grow old, right?
Yep. That's it.
So what I'm curious about is, as you come into this, you're forming a business plan.
At Casper, we love sleep as much as you do. That's why we're bringing back the very first bed-in-a-box millions love at a price everyone will love. Meet the Casper, a mattress so comfortable it could only have one name. Enjoy 4 layers of cozy support for just $9.95. Plus, get AirScape technology to help you wake up refreshed. Get your best rest at our best price with the new Casper mattress. Shop online or visit a Casper sleep shop near you today. Casper, for the love of sleep. Exclusions apply. See casper.com/promo.
How much trial and error did you go through in, say, the first 4 years? I mean, if I'm imagining myself going into a situation like that, it's going to be like 50-50. Oh, okay. I'm not doing that again.
Okay. A lot of trial and error. Okay. So, and people, they get mad at me because I had a list of rules. The last package I put together for the guides was about, 8 or 10 pages worth of stuff. And so every time something negative happened, I would establish another rule, another protocol or whatever, what not to do, what to do, and all that stuff. So it got big. So there was a lot of, trial and error never stopped really. But so just for example, we started out, our hunts were optional one-on-one guide. That's what we started with. You could have a guide sit with you and tell you what deer was legal to shoot, because I started out with a $2,500 fine if you shot the wrong deer and you didn't have your guide with you. So the guide was like insurance policy. Okay. You shoot the deer that the guide says you can shoot, you're in the clear. Okay. Even if the guide screws up.
Right.
All right. Well, guess what? I had to collect on that a few times. I didn't like that because I know that, some people think, well, you shoot 1 or 2 of the wrong deer, it's not going to be a big deal. No, it's a big deal because you don't know whether that deer had 170 potential or not. You'll never know because he did. So we eventually went to mandatory one-on-one guide. You had to take a guide. And it was, people didn't like that at first, but then they grew to like it because they could go hunting and not have any pressure on them whatsoever. The only pressure they had was making a shot. Okay. And so it was appreciated over time. And that is the niche. I'm going to tell you right now, that is the niche we had above a lot of other properties, is the one-on-one guide service, because it was easier for us to train 12 guides, because we took 12 hunters every 3-day hunt. It's easier for us to train and manage 12 guides that are getting paid, this is their job, than it is to try to train 340 hunters that come through there. And it's the same thing on your hunting club back home. You've got 8 or 10 members in your hunting club. If you can train them, but it's hard to train them because they don't do this for a living. They're weekend warriors and they're coming in there and they got limited amount of time to hunt. And so it's not the same. And a few mistakes matters big time. When you shoot that 3-year-old deer, it matters, So that's the niche we had. And so I took that. Well, before we went mandatory, I raised that 2,500 to 5,000. That stopped that bleeding. But I still wanted to make sure that we were doing everything that we could do. So we went to one-on-one guide mandatory.
I got you. So, at a certain point, you're just managing. I mean, I always say that you can do everything you can about logistical problems, but you're never going to fix people problems. And so you're just fixing the people problems, right? You train what you can, and then they're one-on-one and they get to kind of direct the show.
you know, a lot of people, you know, you if you got a hunting club, you got a buck management program, you got certain shooter requirements. Okay. You lay them out there and everybody understands, everybody votes on it. It's great. That's what we're going to do. Well, guess what? In the excitement of the hunt, you know, some people don't even know what they're looking at. They don't know what a 130 class deer or a 150 class deer is. They could see a 125 and it's the biggest thing they ever saw. And that's got to be a shooter. Boom. He's down. And you go pick him up. He's a 2 or 3 year old deer.
Right.
And that hurts, you know. So, yeah, I mean, a lot of people have good intentions, but making it happen is another story.
Did you go through any training as you were doing this? Because I'm just thinking about my own background and just, I don't do guiding or anything like that, but I've fished and hunted with a lot of people, and no matter what crowd you are in, you always get there's always at least one person that tells you how good they are, what a good shot they are, what a good caster they are, how many big fish they caught. And then you get them out in the field and it's like they're tracking a squirrel like it's a buck or something like that. Like, it's like, you obviously don't know anything about the tracks or why were you telling me you were so good at this? Those situations always happen. How did you sort of establish the ground rules in those situations where you were managing the people that would come in and make sure everybody, not only is that person successful, say if they're inexperienced and maybe they prop themselves up. I don't know if you went through that a lot, but I could imagine you did. How did you manage that kind of situation to still make sure everybody had a good time?
The new Case 580 SV Construction King backhoe is backed by a rock-solid guarantee lease. It's the only lease that lets you walk away after 12 months for any reason. Get a full 1-year machine warranty, 36-month powertrain coverage. If you decide to buy it, you'll get another year of powertrain coverage free. Talk to your participating dealer before June 30th, 2023. We're the new Case. No one will outwork us. Terms and conditions apply. Offer good only when you lease a 580 SV model for 36 months, 1,000 hours per year through CNH Industrial Capital. See kce.com for details.
Well, the proof's in the pudding, because we posted our pictures up I had a website going early on. I did do that with technology. I managed that as soon as I learned about that internet. So our pictures were up there, and then the TV shows, we were killing big deer on those TV shows. So the hunters came in there with confidence that we had the deer. Number one, that's the main thing. Do they have them? I mean, if you want to catch 10-pound bass, you want to go to a pond or a lake that you know has had 10-pound bass caught out of it.
Right. So you're saying most of the people that came through were pretty solid.
They were solid with what we had to offer.
Okay.
And then our guides, we picked guides. Nobody asked to be a guide on Giles Island unless they had a love of the outdoors and they were avid hunters, you know. So we had to weed through them too now. Not everybody that's a good hunter has a good work ethic, you know. So there's more to do as a guide on a hunting property than just sitting in a stand and saying, shoot this, don't shoot that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of midday work that goes on. And so we had to weed through that too. But so we were fortunate enough, and that's hard to find 12 people. That was one of my biggest struggles, was making sure we had enough guides for everybody, because, you know, not everybody has a job that allows them to be free for 4 months out of the year. And so you're looking for guys that have lawn care service, or guys that have a swimming pool service, or has their own business and somebody else can run it while they come over there to guide, or, you know, something like that. So, but we always managed to have enough. And I'm very thankful of that, because without that, we would have shot the place up. You know, when you start pushing that many hunters through a problem, we took, you know, a full booking for us was 384 hunters in a year.
Wow.
Always about 85 to 95% booked. So,
and in the population of deer in that area, did you ever have any estimates on what year to year you were looking at as far as population?
Now that's where the large amount of hunters comes in as an asset, because when you have that amount of property in the Mississippi River bottom, you know, that the carrying capacity on that land is a deer per 9 acres. I mean, that's a lot of deer. So, and we try to run a 1-to-1 ratio. So you got to shoot a lot of does every year. You can't skip. So we were able to stay on top of all of that too. We incentivized the doe shooting. We put it out there, man. We could talk for days about this stuff. I'm telling you. We told them for every doe you shoot, we're going to put your name in the drawing for a free hunt next year. And that got some people to shoot some does, So yeah, it's been a big run.
I get the biggest kick out of that because I live out west and you're talking about how you have to shoot so many does because what you're going to end up with is overpopulation, and they're going to, you're not going to have a healthy population. And we'll go out during a hunting season and we're stoked if you're seeing like a handful of deer when you're out there. I mean, you'll see them, but they're at like 4 or 5 miles. And then by the time you get to them, they're gone. And there's plenty of amazing hunters I know out here that get skunked on a year-to-year basis. And then you're talking about an island in Mississippi where it's like, I can't kill enough deer.
Oh yeah, it's a task. And not just the does, the management bucks too. So I saw that coming on to begin with. So we offered, it was a $2 opportunity on all of our hunts. You could shoot one trophy buck and one management buck. So, because we knew there's a lot of these, 6 or 7 points or small 8 points. That's not why they come there. They didn't come there to shoot that. They're not going to shoot them. But if you say, hey, shoot this deer, you can still hunt for your trophy tomorrow. Well, they'll shoot them then, see. Or they get down to that last evening or that last morning and they hadn't shot their management buck. Well, they'll shoot him, or they hadn't killed a deer at all. They want to leave with something. So that helped a whole lot, and that plays into the genetic role, when you can get those inferior antlered deer out of the herd.
So what did you do in terms of landscape design, plant management, forage management? Did you supplement? How did you sort of manage from that side of things?
Yeah. So when I first got there, the road system over the main road coming in off of that levee through Rifle Point Hunting Club and onto the island in July during the drought, you had to have a jacked up 4-wheel drive to get in there. That's how bad it was. The only people that had ever done anything to the roads were the oil field, because there's a couple of oil wells on the place. And all they do is scrape the mud out of the middle and pile it up on the side. And then when they leave, you got a tunnel and it holds, and it was so bad. So we went to work and talked them into buying a little bulldozer, and we started cleaning those main roads up. And then we started working on the side roads, wanted to make everything accessible. Not that we ride on everything all the time, but we wanted to be able to access all parts of the property to be able to pick up a deer if we had to track one way off, And the food plots, when I first came there was a few of them there, just a few, and they were planting ryegrass in them, and that's useless. So we established a whole bunch of nice food plots, good, destination food plots, and we limed them, put the lime down. We did everything that you could do to make them good. The soil over the hill, well, I call it over the hill, in the low elevation areas, it doesn't get any better. In the world, I think it doesn't get any better. So we would plant down there knowing that the river may come up and take some of those, but it was still worth hunting. Even if we only got to hunt it for 2 months out of the 4-month season. And then the higher elevation was mostly sandy. So, and believe it or not, you can grow a good food plot in the sand. You just need to get the rains. If the rains come timely, they will do great. And fortunately, we always had just nice, lush food plots. And, by the time January gets there, they're eating down to the ground. There's so many deer, and we kept trying to plant more and more to keep up with them. And, depending on how harsh the winter was, would determine the quality of food plot that you had in January.
Did you do things like try to get, protein rich plants, into the ground to try to inspire antler growth? Were you managing from that side of things, or were you just trying to get the food out?
All right, that's another story. So, when the protein pellets came on board, okay. Oh my God, you can grow your Boone and Crockett deer, just feed these protein pellets, okay. Well, guess what? The first we did, we went and built some troughs, covered troughs, and we would go put them out there. There's so many deer, we'd have to fill them up every day. And we had 10 or 12 of them out there. And first 2 years we did that, we started noticing we were having half rack bucks.
So they became atypical on that point.
You would have one good side and the other side just be a stub. And we wasn't seeing that before. And we really couldn't see a big improvement in the quality of our antler, our top end quality. And so I started asking about it. I had all kind of people calling me, trying to sell me stuff all the time, and this guy called me about these protein pellets, and I was telling him, man, I don't know about these things. Where are these? We're seeing half racks now. He says, well, yeah, they found that there's a chemical or something in the protein pellets that was causing that to happen. But we eliminated that out of our product. So I'm quite sure it's out of all of them now, but the vegetation, I've had several plant scientists on the island we give tours to and all. And I love listening to those guys talk, they got,
do that regenerative.
We got common names for the plants and all that are out there, and they get this big, long, scientific name for everything, but they know some stuff. And so in that river bottom, most of the vegetation we have over there is 18 to 22% protein.
Oof.
And that's all that a deer can digest and utilize anyway. And we're sitting there paying an arm and a leg for these protein pellets, dumping them in it. Why? We got it naturally. We don't have to do that.
Yeah.
So it was a waste of time and money and energy for us to do it. And I'm not going to say it is for everybody, depending on where you are. I mean, if you're in a pine thicket, I think that supplemental feeding with protein pellets is probably a good thing. You're going to benefit your deer's health and the quality of the antler, but we didn't have to do it. We were very fortunate not to have to, in that river bottom, you don't have to feed it.
Yeah, there's we've talked to Dr. Grant Woods a few times, and he talks about the same thing where, like, if you're running the right rotation of plants through there with high protein count on the plants themselves, legumes will have a lot of that, you'll find. And then in your case, plants with like 18% protein, like that's crazy, to where you don't need to do all that supplementation. This is natural food that they're going to forage for anyways. Like, you're good. So when you were doing this, was it all tree stand hunting? Was it spot and stock? Did you have ground blinds? Did you have a variation of things that you would use, or how did this work?
Oh, you're bringing up memories, man. You're bringing up memories. All right. So we did bow hunting October, November, and then we gun hunted. We gave an option. It was an optional hunt, either or. You can hunt with bow or gun December and half of January. And then the last half of January, we went back to strictly bow hunting. So we started out. Now, right now, there's 55 all-weather box stands over there to rifle hunt. And you could bow hunt out of some of them. Our bow hunting, we had about 135 ladder stands scattered across. But we did a lot of bow hunting out of two-piece climbing stands. And the guide would put his stand on the tree and start up, and the hunter would come in up underneath, and we just get over the hunter's right shoulder with the camera. We videoed all our hunts too, for two reasons. Number one, we like to see what we're shooting at and have a log of the bucks, that we've got, and determine, whether one needs to go on the hit list or not. And number two, we want to see where that deer's hit to know how long to wait before we go tracking him and everything. So it worked out real good. And we would provide the hunter with a copy of his hunt on video. That was cool. They love that. That's another reason that the hunters like the guide service. They got to relive that, take it back home. They show it to all their buddies at the hunting camp and their kids and everything, so that was a good deal. So yeah, we would we started out, we gave an orientation on the first day everybody got there. And we already knew what 12 stands we're going to hunt. As guides, we decided where we're going to hunt that afternoon, depending on the wind direction and everything. And we folded it up on a little paper, and the hunters drew their stand location out of a hat. And so that's where you went. Now, in the early years, probably 2 or 3 years, we would do a little stalk hunting, if you will, slip hunting. And that's the easiest thing to do over there on that flat ground on that island. I mean, it's stupid easy. Okay. Well, I started doing it to start with, because that's the way I liked to hunt when I was a kid. When I used to gun hunt, I don't gun hunt anymore. I just straight up bow hunt for 40 years now. But I just told my age again. Then well, everybody started doing it. All the guys started taking my lead on that and doing it. I said, no, we can't do this anymore. That's bumping to way too many deer. I don't like that. We had some little unwritten sanctuaries in play, and now we don't have them because we're walking through there and bumping everything. So I stopped it. I said, you draw a stand, you got to go to your stand, you got to stay there. Can't move. So
that way you're not disturbing the animals on a regular basis. They can.
That's right.
Territory. Okay, I got you.
Yeah. So, but look, that bow hunting out of those 2-piece climbers, that's where it's at. And the diehard bow hunter come in there. And so what we did in that during our bow hunting time, when the hunter drew his stand location, he didn't draw a stand location. He drew an area. And we divided the island up in about 17 sections and 17 areas. And so we had 12 hunters. So you drew an area, and it was anywhere from 200 to 500 acres big. That was your area for the whole 3-day hunt. And you and your guide decided you could go wherever you wanted to in there, morning, evening, it didn't matter. And if you ever thought, well, hey, the wind's not right for what we want to do in here, we're going to cash it in and draw for another area in the morning. Okay. So we did all of that. It was very organized and controlled, and everybody appreciated it. Yeah.
As you're setting up these box stands that you talked about, are these the box stands where like you got 4 walls of plywood and you climb up in a little box, or is there like a couch and a radio in there?
Okay. Well, again, when I first came there was some hodgepodge box stands over there. They're not there anymore. Okay. But there were a few nice ones. And then they were homemade out of wood, 4x4s and, plywood walls and stuff, but with windows. I mean, actual, like house trailer windows or whatever. And then we built what we called the Big Three. We had Serengeti, Anamarango, and the Varmint. These were the hottest fields on the whole big, huge destination food plots, where you could see on the good days, you would see in excess of 100 deer in each field. And so we built some big, fine wooden, like a little small house. Okay. And we got pictures on the walls of all the deer that was killed in there. And we were running out of room to put pictures. There's so many deer killed. I mean, that varmint stand is the most prolific place I've ever seen. The most deer seen in that field was 200. It would consistently see 75 to 100 deer every afternoon. And we killed back-to-back mature deer many, many, many times. We've killed 3 days in a row several times. And the record in that stand, we killed 5 days in a row. We killed a mature buck out of that stand. I mean, I don't know if you can find that anywhere else.
I don't know that you can either. So nowadays, what I got to ask you now is, after all this adventures for 27 years, this 27 years of managing deer like this at an epic proportion, do you still get that rush when you get out there and it's hunting season and, you're locking in?
I sure do. I just called my brother this morning and told him we need to get that tractor down to Killarney and start whipping them roads into shape. I walked it the other day with a rifle looking for a hog to shoot, and there was debris. It's in a flood zone, so the river was in and out, and so we got a lot of cleanup down there. So yeah, I love every aspect of I think I like getting ready for hunting season more than hunting season. I love driving the tractor. I love, seeing, are we going to have any persimmons this year? Look at the pecans. Another 2 or 3 weeks, we'll be able to look up there and see if we got any wild sweet pecans on the tree. See if we got any nuttall, acres. And I love all of that. And another reason I like getting ready for hunting season, it's great physical activity, And I like to stay active and going, so, but I do love to hunt. I love sitting, I can sit there, till the cows come home. I get to do a lot of other things while I'm sitting there early in the hunt, you're not going to see any deer like that afternoon hunt. The first hour and a half I'm sitting there, I know I'm probably not going to see anything waiting on that prime time, but, I get caught up with some emails and my little, my little letter writing to my girl and all this kind of thing. So, I love every aspect. My sister comes down. It's the family hunt. Me and my brother, my sister, my godchild, we hunt together, and everything that surrounds that experience, I love it.
Are you able to look at, I'm going to say like a normal person. Are you able to look at land like a normal person, or is it always from the aspect of, are you always looking for, if you did this, if you just this part, if you change this up, you might bring in a few more deer. Like, is it just always on?
It's always on. And I think that's maybe something that us, land professionals need to think about. That, I mean, we all know this stuff like the back of our hand, and we take it, maybe we take it for granted that everybody does. We need to catch ourselves sometime. And I'll give you an example of a guy called me and I drove 2 hours and 45 minutes to go look at his property. And he was wondering what to do with it. And he wasn't a hunter. His dad had passed and he inherited the land, and he was wondering what to do with it. So, so I was telling him about the timber, he's asking about the timber and all. And, he wants to do this and he wants to do that with the timber. And I'm like, well, you can't do this. You can't do that. So, what about this stand right here? I said, these fields right here, you need to get these fields cleaned up, because they've been sitting there for about 8 years. And I said, if you don't get a bush hog in here by next year, the stuff's going to be too big to clean up. You're going to have to get a bulldozer in here then. So those kind of things, he's not thinking along those lines, So I think we just got to catch ourselves and make sure that, and remind ourselves that, hey, everybody doesn't know everything that we know. I mean, we don't have to act like a know-it-all, because we're not. I don't know everything there is to know about timber, and I don't know everything there is to know about a duck hole. I know some things, and I can get you to the right spot too. But when it comes to deer, most of us in this group right here listening know about deer, and how to do for deer.
Yep, and I can imagine too, like with that kind of experience, just every single tree, shrub, rock, bush, clearing, like your brain is just, you rewire, and it's like you just see the landscape as it functions in accordance to wildlife at that point. You're like, okay, this is a turkey area, I would do this, and this is a deer area, I would do that, and maybe you should do this. And it's like just always something you're looking at, because it's kind of it's very scientific in terms of people are looking at protein and plants and what grows naturally and what the erosion is going to do and where to put a road like that. There is a scientific aspect, but I do look at it as there's a very creative approach. It's a creative outlet. There's an art form to it, and it's sort of it's an expression. And once you get into that, it becomes fulfilling, and you're just always on it.
Well, you got it. Yeah, I always say, and Christy laughs at me, I say, man's got to have a plan. If you don't have a plan, you just walking around with your teeth in your head. You got to, so you got to have a vision, and what do you want this to look like, and then get started, and hopefully it turns out the way you want it to turn out. So, yeah, we are geared a little bit different. The people in this group listening right here, we're geared a little bit different than other than your common guy, that maybe shining the seat his whole life and but he wants to hunt. And that's why we're here. That's what we are here to do. We are here to give these people what they want. We're here to show them and help them along the way. And, the ones that don't know and the ones that do know, we're here to find them a better place, or whatever. So.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you next is, first of all, to get some stories, and I want to get you back on here again to tell some good old, good hunting stories and some wildlife development stories and stuff. But now you've moved away from managing Giles Island, and now you're doing land real estate. Sort of you're in Mississippi now. You said you're trying to get licensed in Louisiana now too, and where else?
Possibly Arkansas. Yes.
Possibly Arkansas. That was it. So you're working with that now. So it's sort of a new plan. You, instead of cultivating your own landscape and developing it and growing it, you're helping to kind of fulfill other people's dreams and helping people sell and getting that landscape ready to sell and making sure that it's primed to catch somebody's eye for a sale, or helping people acquire land and then possibly develop it. And then you end up, consulting for years when you end up selling land. What's sort of your outlook for this and what's sort of your approach to it? I know you're just starting, so I'm not going to ask you like, tell me about all your years of experience in that. Like, you're just jumping in this. And sort of tell me a little bit just about where you're headed and what you're doing.
Yeah. So, right now I'm just got my license. And so I've been kind of drinking through a fire hose here lately with all this technology, that we have, that this company has to offer us salespeople. So I'm still in there trying to learn that stuff. I haven't even been through the boot camp yet. So I'm excited to get through it. I'm ready to get to the point where I wake up every morning and I say, okay, which 10 people am I calling today? Which people do I have to call? And which new people am I going to call today? That's what I want to do. And find the people that want to buy land. Okay, you want to buy land? Let's talk about what you want. You want deer? Yeah, I want deer. Do you want duck? Okay, I want deer and duck. No, I don't care about a duck. I want deer and turkey. What do you want? And it's actually fun. I mean, I've got a lot of properties for sale right now that I can sell. They're not listed, but I've got access to them. I can put people on good property right now today with deer, duck, or turkey, either one. So, and then we go look at them. I'm excited about it. I just got a brand new Can-Am. I'm ready to tear the sides off of that thing in some woods. Okay. All right. So somebody maybe wants to sell. Things happen in life. The circumstances change, and land is always going to be selling somewhere. So, okay, well, I'm going to help you try to get the best deal I can for your land, and maybe on the buying end of it too. So I'm really excited about it, and when that buyer buys that, and he wants to pick my brain about what should I do here, what should I do there, I'm very fortunate that I can give him a lot of answers, and it's going to come easy. And that's what I'm excited about. That's not a lot to learn there. The stuff I'm having to learn is in this computer screen I'm looking at right now. So.
Yeah, the land stuff is just what you do. And that's really when somebody works with a land specific real estate professional, that's really what they're looking for, right? Like, they're looking for somebody who knows land better than them. There's no reason to work with an agent if you know everything there is to know about land. Actually, there is. You don't want to deal with contracts and other people. I mean, that's really what you're frontlining the agent with. But when it comes down to it, working with somebody who knows more than most of the people around is a big help.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm going to tell you, I had, the first post I made on Facebook about me not being on Giles Island anymore, within an hour, I got 4 phone calls from friends of mine from 3 different companies wanting me to go sell hunting land. And I looked at Christy, I'm like, what do these people know about me that I don't know about me? So I engaged and I started talking, and they're like, man, dude, I mean, you know what what's involved with land. You know how to develop land, hunting land. You know what it takes and everything, and that's the easy part. So I had a hard time deciding what company to go with because I had friends everywhere, and I decided to go with this company, National Land Realty, because probably two people. Greg Clearman, he hunted on the island several years with me. We shared a many hour in the tree together. And he tried to get me to come over 5 years ago. He would not leave me alone. That dude is a hound dog. You hear me? And he pumped me up. And so he was there for me. And then Catfish Hunter. And that's Catfish Parker. Hank Parker's son, Catfish, they had the hunting show. Well, they hunted on the island a lot too. Now, Catfish is with the company over in South Carolina. He's with National Land Realty over there. And he called me and he told me, he said, Jimmy, I'm going to shoot you straight. If you're going to sell hunting land for a living, this is the company you need to be with. And really, he's the one that turned me over and made me come with his company. Greg got it started and wouldn't leave it alone. And then Catfish turned me in. And since then, I have talking to many agents with the company that had left other agencies, real estate agencies, to come to this one. And they said, by far, you made the right choice. This is the best company. So just because of the tools that are offered here, well, no, not just because of the tools that we have to offer. That's a big distinguishing difference, but also the team effort that we have here. There's no man is an island of himself. And that's kind of the attitude we've got in this company. I love it. I've got a great team working with Jack and Greg over there and Ronnie. And then now I've got a separate
between those gentlemen, you have some of the highest degrees of knowledge in this stuff that there is. That's pretty valuable. That's all right for you.
Yeah, I know. And then I've got another little team, secondary team here in my hometown, Natchez, with Vidal and Rusty.
Mm-hmm.
So two Rusties over here. But I feel very fortunate to be sandwiched in between all of that. And I am just ready to get all of this technological stuff in my brain where I can get going and make those phone calls.
Excellent, man. Well, I'm going to let you get back to that. I appreciate your time today, and I appreciate your knowledge and the background that you have in this kind of stuff is just, you can't get that except for with time. Right. And so I appreciate yours today. So I'll have your contact information in the notes. You people out there looking for hunting land, consider Jimmy Riley here, and we'll get you back on to tell some more stories because it's an amazing background that you have.
We have a lot more to talk about, Mac, and I can't wait to get into talking about this deer management and food plots and ratio and all kinds of stuff. I got all kind of notes here ready to go for the next one.
All right, we'll do this. Thank you.
Okay, Mac. Have a great day, buddy.
You too.
This concludes episode number 49 for the National Land Realty podcast, talking with Jimmy Riley about his 27 years of experience developing Giles Island into one of America's top hunting properties. You can learn more about land ownership and the buying and selling of land at nationalland.com.